Good evening, everybody. Welcome back. It's another Saturday night. Good to be here once again. I'm a few minutes behind schedule here, so I apologize for that. But we'll wait to see who pops in this evening, and we'll talk a little bit. But I know it's a rough night in different areas of the country. There's been storms north, south, west, east. Yes, we can talk about all that. But evening, Jorge. It's good to see you here this evening. Thanks for tuning in. Appreciate your time. I hope things are going well this week. I know up in your area that you had the snow and then the earthquake up in that area. It was a 4.8, I believe. We've had a little bit colder than usual down here. Last time I read it was 17 degrees lower than average or something like that. Yesterday was 17 degrees lower. And I know a lot of people will talk about end times, and I know a lot of people are excited about this eclipse on Monday for many different reasons. But yeah, I'm not as worried about it, I guess. But yeah, it's been busy, so I hope things have been well up there. And I believe you had that snow up there. Looks like I hope you were able to get yourself out of that snow in a quick enough fashion of time. I don't know if it's all melted away yet. Which is funny because up in the north, it's usually you get the bad weather and then you get good weather, and then winter seems to never end up there. Down here, I'm feeling like I'm kind of in the north, like the good weather came in, but it's a little colder than usual down in this neck of the woods. But what are you going to do? I know there's a lot of people making a big deal about the eclipse. I'm not really going to talk about that tonight. I mean, we can if you want to. You know how I roll. Anything's up for grabs, but I know that I wanted to talk a little bit about the topic this evening about being unequally yoked. And I think it comes in many different forms, and sometimes we don't even realize who we're yoked with. Things seem great. I mean, people, preachers, different folks, pastors. I can go into 2 Corinthians chapter 6, I believe. And actually, I'm just going to go in there. We'll jump right in, and however this rolls this evening. I don't want to take too long. So in 2 Corinthians chapter 6, verse 14. I mean, everybody should know this one. It's a pretty common one. Be ye not unequally yoked together with unbelievers. For what fellowship hath righteousness with unrighteousness? And what communion hath light with darkness? Now, a lot of people decipher it in different ways, but it still boils down to the same thing. We find ourselves in many ways unequally yoked. I'll be going to work and missing out on the eclipse. I'm not worried about it. Yeah, I'll be at work. I might stop. I probably will stop along on my route at some point and pull over. And my pen's apparently broke in my pocket. I'm sure I'm going to have to pull over on the side of the road because in my travels, I'm guessing a lot of people will be pulled off to the side of the road, and I'm going to have no choice but to pull over and watch the eclipse, as people are going to be most likely driving a little nutty. But that's how it goes when you're driving around all the time. So I'm not all that concerned about it. I know people are getting an uproar. I know some people who watch me might tell me I'm wrong. A lot of people know that I don't, they get mad at me for not looking for signs or anything like that, or they claim that I'm not looking for signs and I'm not paying attention and I'm not focused on this and focused on that. I'm saved. So whatever happens, it's going to happen. I'm not worried about it. Whenever the time comes and the catching away happens, it happens. You know, I'm not ignorant to the fact that we look at different things, but I'm not going to worry about it. I think people are worried about it. I think people look for the signs because they're still stuck in a time of signs and wonders. That's a lot of the charismatics and the Pentecostals, and I think a lot of the Messianic folk are the same way. I'm not worried. I mean, I don't know how to put it more simpler. When you're born again and you're saved, you don't worry about these things. You worry about sin and trying to keep yourself on the right path and and not make errors and mistakes. And people say, well, you shouldn't make errors if you're born again, because those folks are obviously perfect. But yeah, I don't want to go too long on the eclipse, but not concerned about it. I think scientifically, it's an interesting thing to look at. If you're a kid, it's pretty cool to look up at the sky and go, oh wow, that's so cool. But yeah, when it comes to the end of the world, yeah, I don't really. So I'll go a little bit longer. I don't know why there are so many people concerned about it. I wonder if they're more fearful that they may have not made the right choices. Maybe they're not saved. They're questioning their salvation and like, oh no, what do I do to get prepared? Become born again? I'm not saying you can't go to the market and buy some tuna fish. I'm just saying, I don't want to make it overstate the easiness of it, but I don't mean easy believism. But I have no concern, and I'm not worried. Just not. Maybe people will be mad at me for not being as worried about it, but I'm not. Well, like I said, the unequally yoked thing. We got a lot of unequally yoked when it comes to the preachers. If you look at the title, I put places. I didn't put churches. So I think the title, I wrote down, where's my title? Yeah, people, preachers, pastors, and places. Because there are people who are pastors, but they call themselves preachers because they don't want to be considered pastors. And there are people who go to churches, but they don't go to churches, but they kind of run their system like a church. So we're going to call that places. I know it's very confusing for some, but I'm finding, again, I'm one of those guys who just watches, just kind of looks at people, watching what's going on. And it's not surprising, but it's scary at the same time. A lot of folks are having outright cultish behaviors, and some are having low-key cultish behaviors. And it concerns me, a lot. I won't lie to you, but I can't change the world, so that's not going to happen. But we find ourselves in situations, and we should more and more as the Bereans. We need to search scriptures, but we need to search people. And we don't, because we like what they say, so they go along. There's nothing wrong with liking what someone says and like, oh, let's watch this guy and whatever and see what's going on. But over time, there are a few that just, something's wrong. Something ain't right. And you tend to overlook it. In your desire and your wanting this to have fellowship and be with others. And I get it. All of us have that human component to us that we want those things. Well, like I said, there's a lot of preachers out there who maybe shouldn't be preaching. There's something on my screen there. And there are those who are pastors who consider themselves pastors who shouldn't be in that position. And there are people we think that are saved and they show the right things, but then you're not quite sure. And the places, like I said before, all these deceptions can happen in different places. All these unequal yokednesses can happen in so many different forms. And I think that we think that if we just go to that, just a mega church, and that's where the deception is. No, it's in the mega church. It's in the mid-level church. It's in the little churches. And now we go, I don't go to church. Now it's on the internet. It can be in a house church, a building over there, a converted garage over there. Not saying everybody is, but it is across the level. We are in the highest time, in my opinion, and we've been there for a while now, of deception everywhere. And I know that sounds negative, but the Bible is negative leading to a positive result. But we have to be very careful because there's a lot of people who are telling you how you should live and what you should do. And I'm probably guilty of that sometimes and giving my opinion of how what I think one should do. But it's just weird. We even have internet preachers who claim they are anti the system, but then kind of follow that same system of wanting money to support them and what they do. And I'm thinking to myself, and they call it offerings and stuff like that, which is fine, but that's the same thing at church. So these guys are like a pastor without the actual physical church building. And that's kind of scary to me. I don't think anybody should be getting money. again, I've said this before. If you want to donate to a guy and he's out there passing out Bibles and gospel tracts and so forth and so on, I'm all in. I'm all in. Send him a few dollars. I got no problem with that. But be careful when you do that. You're becoming unequally yoked with someone who's not really living. Or they can teach it sometimes and they can preach it. But what's the old saying? But they don't bring it. And you can't hold them accountable for their receipts. You can't see their receipts. You just can't. And then you have the same thing with the pastors, and you have the same thing with these places that you go to, whether it be a tabernacle. You got a lot of names out there now. It's tabernacle, a fellowship hall, just plain old church, different names out there. You got to be careful of those too. And I'm not saying that not. A lot of people will say I'm trying to broad brush everyone. I'm not. But the problem is we don't look at things individually and look for red flags and clues and stuff like that. I mean, a lot of people know my beliefs. How should women dress and how men should be and so forth. And if I see something, if I'm investigating and I look, I'm like, no, they're not right. Now someone will say, well, you're just being over judgmental. You judge everybody on every. Well, yeah, but you need to be careful how you're judging someone. I mean, you're not going to judge a man who's saved who has tattoos because he had them previously. I'm not going to judge a man for that. That's his past, and he's now where he is now. I have a problem with, a serious problem with anyone who didn't have tattoos suddenly gets tattooed after they're saved. That obviously doesn't make sense. But we have a lot. We just have to be very, very careful. I don't want to stumble over my word, but we have to be very using the discernment that we've been given to pay attention to these red flags, because unequal yokedness is not just marriage. It's not just with your wife, and if you're a woman, not just with your husband. It's with other folks, other people. Now, I understand we work in the world. Well, some of us real men actually go to work and work for a living, and I'm saying it that way, and I really don't care who gets offended. I think I bit my tongue a long time on that, and other than things, certain disabilities, I don't have that's different. But if you're an able-bodied guy and you ain't working for a living, but you want to preach and teach, I'm gonna have to ask you to sit down. You might have a lot of good things to say, but you ain't living it. You can talk it, you can preach it, but you can't walk it. That's a really big concern I have. And you have to. I love the saying. I love the term. What a passage. Bivocational, somehow. I think that's how they call it when they work a job and a pastor at church. Well, I'll give them a little bit more credit than I will a guy who's not doing anything at all. We need to stay, in my opinion, stay away from people like that. You gotta be careful of that. If you ain't working, I don't care what you do for a living. You shouldn't be driving a Coors Light truck. I don't know if there's any more Coors Light trucks out there, but you need to be working for a living. Do not follow a man, in my opinion. And I'm not going after anybody in particular. This is a generality, because it's not just one person out there. There's more. There's multiple people either just living out in the middle of nowhere, living in their mama's basement, living in their daddy's basement, living off of welfare, living off the government, and they want to tell you and they want to come on these internets. No. Have a seat. Do not become unequally yoked for those people. Now, people can say about me, well, I don't think you're someone to follow. And that's okay, man. It's not offending me. You don't have to follow me because you shouldn't be following me. Yes, we have a subscribe channel. You subscribe to the channel, and there's a follow button on Rumble. You follow, but you know what I mean. I've always said, don't follow me. I'm not looking to be some sort of leader of things. That's not why I developed this channel. Yes, I do a little bit more, I guess you could say, preaching than I intended to do. But this has always been about everybody else. This channel is designed, and I've gone down this road before, to design this channel for everyone. So I won't tell you. You ask my opinion, I'll give it to you. I'm gonna paraphrase Daniel when he says to, I think, King Cyrus, and don't ask me something if you don't want the answer. I'm just gonna be honest, and you don't have to like me. And I know that's gonna push a lot of people. I've been pretty Switzerland on this, pretty neutral, I guess you could say. I don't want to, I'm just careful because I don't like to attack people because I'd rather, exhort people, but bring truth and see, if they see the error, they see it. If they don't see it, they don't see it. But we have too much attacking going on for no reason. So I would be careful, preachers you unequally yoked with, or pastors you unequally yoked with, and the places that you go. And I don't mean workplace because you're in a place where obviously we're going to be unequally yoked in a workplace with people, but you don't have to be unequally like go out to the bar with them, going out to picnics with them. That's unequally yoked. That's what I've got a problem with. But that is going on in the world today, and I think it's very concerning that we're just basically becoming like the Catholics, but you're very much unequally yoked. And I'm gonna say it over and over again: the word unequally yoked. Be very, very careful because it's getting a little harder for some folks to notice it. People will lift up this King James Bible and they seem like they got it and like, man, they're preaching it right. But they ain't right because you have to look at certain things that don't fit the criteria. You're like, well, wait a minute, what about this? Well, I mean, and by the way, when I say that was a different dispensation, pause for one moment. Yes, I believe in dispensationalism to a level. Then there's something called hyper-dispensationalism. But there are people that almost have a dispensationalist for every chapter. Or they pick the chapters and like, well, because I'm not following that really, that was a different dispensation for my beliefs. I'm like, no, it's not. I don't know. No, it's not how it works. And there are a lot of people, too, helping people. And that's great. But they're helping for the wrong reasons, and that's a huge problem. So when you're looking at people you associate with online and internet forums, all I'm saying is make sure it lines up. I mean, little things are not going to be a big deal. If they want to argue about they liked it better when they had no chapter changes, then fine. I'm not gonna. But they have to be ready for the core issues of salvation and those doctrines like that. Where Romans, you can become born again, the Gospel of John. I mean, all these things have to be looked at, and there has to be some core tenets. I mean, if you're a premillennial and you want to be hooked with a postmillennial, that's not going to work because you're always going to butt heads. So, and someone right now could be out there watching, going, well, I'm not really aligned with you, so I'm going to depart from you. Okay, there's nothing wrong with that at all. You want to depart from me because you don't believe, that's fine. But I would say don't leave people with malice. Don't break away from people with malice. You want to take a break from someone and kind of step back and like, let me reanalyze this guy. I keep saying guy because it shouldn't be women. You know my stance on that. 116 passages in the Bible and 0 for women preaching. Okay, don't come with me with Priscilla. I'll have my wife get on there and just go through the whole thing with women witnessing. You're going to make your wife talk about it? I'm just being, well, whatever. But and Priscilla and Aquila, because they always come together. Or don't forget Diana. Not Diana. Deborah. Stuff like that. And come on. People who fight for that take that completely out of the context of what it is. In fact, a brother was just talking to me the other day about Deborah. But I just be careful. That's all I got to keep saying is be careful. We are in some crazy times, and we've been in crazy times. And you got the eclipse going on. You got debt higher than it's ever been. You got murder more than that earthquake up in New Jersey. That was I think the first one in over 100 years or something like that. Some are going to call that the birth pains and so forth and so on. I think a lot of people are more worried about the end times than being saved. And that's a big concern too. Why are you more concerned about the end times, but you're not worried about your salvation? I don't think the end times, well, I guess, the end times will be a problem for you because you're not saved. And that becomes a huge issue. And people will say, there's no rapture. There's no rapture. Okay. I mean, one of us is going to be right and one of us is going to be wrong, I guess. It's going to be a crazy situation for one of us. And the works is dead without faith, and faith is dead without works. I'm like, what an argument to have. If they just sat down and just blocked out both sides and just read it, it's pretty simple. Again, in my opinion. So I know I'm not going to make this a long night. Well, I always say that, then it turns into a bit longer. But I am concerned about those who get torn in different directions, not only among the people that they talk to, but even channels. I don't know of any personally that are attacking me. I don't know. I'm sure there are. I don't have a clue. And I don't attack people's channels. My thing is to just keep talking the way I talk, and what I know is what I know. And you don't care for, you don't care for. You like it. But my job is to be here. I've always been led to be here. There have been times where I'm like, I don't think I want to do this. And I fought against myself, I guess you could say, with this live stream. Do I want to get myself wrapped up in that again? But I just felt the push to keep doing it, because there has to be a place where people are going to go where they're not going to be continuously attacked all the time. You might feel attacked. I don't know. But there's times to be harsh, and there's times to be soft, and there's times to be mean, I guess you can say. But, man, brothers and sisters that watch this now and down the road, be careful. Be vigilant. Sounds like my little propane heater is about to go out over here. I got this little propane heater. I hear that little sound, that flickering sound or fluttering sound. Probably it's a little colder than usual down here. So if you hear a little fluttering sound, that would be the propane heater. Like I said, it's a little bit cooler down here than normal. That's what I want to say about that. Wasn't going to make it long. And there goes the propane heater. It is now dying out. There you go. Let me turn this off. Now it's done. But we can talk about the eclipse if you want to. I'm not worried about it. So we can talk about debt. Debt's been going on forever. That's another one. Debt's been going on since the 1950s. Hey, let's talk about debt. What the heck, since we're talking about it? A lot of people you see try to get out of debt. I was just talking to some folks the other day about the debt situation. Like in Kentucky, I think it's TUSA up in Kentucky, what they do, some folks staying out debt, they get these sheds. They don't have them up north, but down south they have a lot of these sheds where they're almost like little houses. And they buy them, rent them out, or rent them for a little while so they pay them off so they can stay out of debt. Interesting thing about debt, or credit cards, I should say. You know who invented credit cards? You know what I'm saying, right? I'm firmly convinced it was the Catholic Church. Sorry. If you got to go, who was the first credit card? Oh, my goodness. I have this in my head. Bank of America, because they're still around today. Bank of America. I don't know why we're talking about credit cards all of a sudden. I know where the show's going to go. Credit cards were Bank of America. It was actually the Bank of Italy where it originated from. And that was in the 50s and 60s. Again, what was the beginning? We talked about this 50s and 60s, and we've gone, and that's really where that final push. I've talked about this before. The 50s and 60s is really that final push to where we are in the latter stages of in my opinion, going into the end of the world. But yeah, that was in the late 50s. And believe it or not, the credit card itself was created by an organization, which I've spoken about before, United Nations, the Bretton Woods conference up there in Fitzwilliam, New Hampshire. Fitzwilliams, I think it's called Fitzwilliams, New Hampshire. That's where they had it there. But yeah, that's a credit card. I don't know why we're going credit card. That's amazing that I'm not going down this road. No idea why. So, we got a bump in here. By design, Paul taught men should be. Let me just pull this up on a bigger screen. Paul taught men should be uncovered, no hat on, when prophesying, I think. What do you think on that one? Well, I'm not prophesying. If you're asking me to take my hat off, I'm not giving any prophets, but it's great to see you, by design. And I always look forward to your comments. You've had a couple down the road that were enlightening, and not to use the enlightening movement of that Thomas Jefferson in France. I don't mean it that way, but yeah, I'm not prophesying. We're having a conversation. That's how I look at this. What book chapter and verse. I think that was to you by design. So because I'm not familiar with that exact sentence. So, well, like I said, the credit card situation, I'm going to stick with that for now. But yeah, the Bretton Woods system. Bretton Woods was up in Fitzwilliam. That's where the United Nations formed. Some of the countries that hadn't even surrendered yet in the World War II. Again, if you go back to some of my videos, here I am promoting old videos, but I've talked about this in some of my old podcasts and videos. 1940, after that was after 1945, or is it June of 45, or I get my dates wrong. I don't have it in front of me. But yeah, that's when we had the credit card come about. I mean, the idea of credit cards was probably universal, stuff like that, was the late 1800s. There was a gentleman who wrote some sort of sci-fi book about it. It's always those sci-fi writers, huh? But yeah, so that came in the 1950s. And that, oh, by the way, that was the Italian guy I was telling you about, the Bank of Italy. He was a big Roman Catholic. I can't think of his name. I apologize because I wasn't expecting to talk about it. I have no idea why. It popped in my head since we're talking about credit cards. But anyways, but again, Roman Catholic system keeping people in check. Why do we have marriages? They're Roman Catholics. Actually, who actually passed that legislation in America because they wanted, some say it's between to keep interracial marriages apart. I'm not going to get into my beliefs on interracial. I don't want to go all over the place too much. But and I was keep that. That was actually a Catholic person that came out that. Who took the King James Bible out of the public schools? The Catholic Church. I'm not trying to say this is like, ooh, I'm so against Catholic people. No, I'm not, but I am against the Catholic system of the Roman Church. I'm just sorry. It's all there. I mean, it's not hard to find the information if you want to really dig for it. But in every case, it's come along. And no, it wasn't the atheists in the 1970s, because I know that was the final straw, was the atheists, but it was actually not them. You can go back to Maine. You can go to Illinois. You can go to Philadelphia, where the Catholics were continually trying to take the Catholic Church, the Bible out of the Catholic Church. I know that I know that's not tonight's episode, but there are some low key people who you wouldn't think that would follow that system, and then saying, "Oh, we don't believe in that." Okay, then why do you follow the other stuff? But so everything you look at is basically the Roman Catholic Church, and socialists too. Don't get me wrong; certain socialists were involved with that. If you look through all of the names, Henry Azilla III or something like that. But again, if I have some other videos you can find on my channel that go through all those things, or even on the podcast that discusses all these people. And I always feel like people know this, and then my wife will remind me, not everybody knows it. 1 Corinthians. Oh, all right, Jorge. I mean, by design. Sorry, I was looking at Jorge's name. By design, 1 Corinthians 11:4. Let's go to 1 Corinthians 11:4. Oh, 1 Corinthians 11:4. All right. Every man praying or prophesying, having his head covered, dishonoreth his head. Well, good thing that I'm not praying or prophesying at this moment. But yes, I do agree, by the way. Like my wife believes in head covering. We absolutely do. When we pray, whether it be with and for the boys, or by ourselves with each other about things, my wife's head is always covered. So there are some things that people say, when I say things were fulfilled and not abolished, and well, I don't say it, the Bible says it, but people will say, oh, then you don't follow in the Old Testament and you shouldn't follow anything from all. But again, if it's repeated in the right sense, then we are supposed to keep following. So I don't disagree with that verse at all. And I'm not sure what it has to do with this, because clearly I'm wearing my hat. But yeah, it's not to pray or prophesy. Maybe our ideas of prophesying could be different. I don't know, but I don't. We're having a conversation about different things here as a forum or a I don't want to use the word round table because that has very bad connotations, but and we're not the Sanhedrin sect or anything like that. And by the way, I talk about echo chambers. This I don't mind as being an echo chamber. It's those who create things but don't go out in the world and bring the gospel to anyone. And again, some people can't. Don't get me wrong. Some people are in a situation where they can't get out and do things. And I'm not against them. I'm just saying able-bodied guys who can make it out there and do these things should do these things. And I apologize by design because I do like your comments that you make on some of my videos, but I'm not really sure how you're putting this towards my hat on my head. I don't know if this is, if you consider this prophesying. I don't consider it prophesying at all, but okay. Jorge, if you want to chime in, Jorge, you've got a wealth of knowledge. Even for your such a young age you are. I'm just kidding. I'm older, so, you know. But that was about, just asking. Okay, that's fine. That's cool. I didn't know if you were referring to my hat. I mean, I don't mind taking it off. If you watch my other videos, I'm not always wearing a hat. Just sometimes I throw it on, sometimes I don't. And like Jorge says, he doesn't care for hats. I don't wear a hat all the time, but I do sometimes. There'll be times I'll go for a few days. I'll wear a hat like every moment, and then I'll go for a couple of weeks never wearing a hat. I never put on a hat. It's just one of those things. Maybe I was feeling a little cold tonight, and my bald head, and put this little hat on, try to trap that heat in. Because I'm aerodynamic now with the bald head. So no, I didn't shave my head to be bald. I'm just going bald. That's just the way it works out. Some of us were blessed with long hair, not long hair like wrong hair, not Samson here. He was a Nazarene. He was supposed to have the long hair. It's not for today's world, but whatever. That's in my opinion. So it doesn't, and it didn't give me more strength when I did have more hair. What gave me more strength when I had more hair? I was younger and I had more strength. So so you'll very rarely see me. I like sweaty hat, but yeah, I'll take the separates to my head. I only wear a hat more. Yeah, I very rarely wear a hat in the summer. I shouldn't say you'll never see me, but it doesn't happen very often. You get that sweat on the inside rim and stuff like that. Or even if you're working hard and you have to wear a hat at work or something like that. Sometimes you work in a place where you have to wear certain hats. Even being on a construction site, you wear a hard hat or anything like that. It's weird that we're talking about hard hats now. But it all depends. But I don't wear a hat all the time. I don't know how we get the hats, but again, by design, I don't know how you feel about the whole with women, but I do believe women should be wearing a covering over their head. Absolutely, 100%. So does my wife, and she does. Are there things that we might have not been perfect biblically in this world? Sure. There are things we miss along the way, and we're like, how do we miss that? And we get back on board with those things. But not gonna see me wearing a hat. How we got down to hats? Boy, let's see. We started with the preachers and pastors to hats to credit card debt. Boy, we're all over the place here. But which I love, by the way. My wife always says, boy, you go like all over the place. That's what a conversation is. That's why, again, I didn't create this channel for me to be preaching at you or to you or down to you. It's about all of us talking. So, but some will like it, some won't. And I know that I'll get pushback. I'll probably lose subscribers. But again, we have to be honest. And I have failed, by the way, at being a little more honest and going at people sometimes than I should, because, there can be a big backlash, and I got to stick to the Bible. Really, I like to make sure. I tend to try to de-escalate things when possible. I don't mind taking it up a notch when possible. It's just. It goes back to being using discernment and recognizing who we may be unequally yoked to. Now, again, going way back to the beginning of this, just because you may not agree on one thing, depending on what one thing is. If he said Jesus never died on the cross, then apparently that's going to be a problem right off the bat. But you don't agree on one thing. We don't just start, pointing fingers, heresy and heretic and stuff like that. Talk with that brother and talk to that brother and say, hey, listen, I know what you were saying on this, but here's where I think it's wrong. Let's talk about it. Let's look at the scriptures through it. But that's a problem. I find that to be a big problem on the internet nowadays. I'll tell you what. I'm being censored now. I didn't think we were censoring you, buddy. Nobody's here censoring you. Unless you're talking about on the internet. I am not censoring you. I might have misunderstood that, but in fact, I think I've responded to most of your comments in the past on my channel. I don't think you're talking about me, so. My comments won't go? To where? Are you being censored by YouTube? Maybe. Oh, not me. Okay. Okay. I was just going to say, I'm like, that's the one thing I will never do. And, now that you mention that, though, there are guys who have channels out there who will literally not answer you, or they'll take down your comments. And I've seen this happen in live time because they're fearful of anyone who comes against them, just like a pastor or a preacher in a church building. There are people on the internet who do the same exact thing, which means they're not any different than the other folks that are doing the same thing. Get a little up there. But they'll censor you too because they don't want to have a conversation. Because you know what? I could be wrong. I think Jorge a long time ago pointed something out to me I was wrong about. Jorge, I don't remember what it was to life of me, but I remember you pointing something out. I'm like, I did not realize I misquoted that. And I was so angry with myself. But, I post and the text goes out. I've never seen this till right now. Okay. Apparently there's some technical issues going on with you, my friend. I don't know. Yikes. But yeah, on this channel, unless you say something incredibly out of control, I usually post on my thing when you get on this channel, have some decency and dignity and somewhat of a respect. You don't have to respect all religions. That's not what I'm saying, but be decent. Be a decent human being. Come here with a conversation, and you will be heard and you will be listened to as long as you're not going to be out of control. So I apologize that happens. Although I know that I've seen my views go down in videos before on YouTube. This is more towards you by design. So I've seen lose subscribers that I should have never lost, and they were there the whole time. So I don't know. I don't let God sort it out in the end. I'm not going to worry too much about it. Although funny, I don't have that much. I don't have the same amount of problems on Rumble, which is weird. Which I'm not there too much, but Wait, hold on. I posted on head coverings and it grayed on my screen. Well, I answered your question on head covering, so I don't know why it's grayed on your screen. And a link, I don't think you can post links on live chat. Maybe you put a link in. I don't know. Boy, we're having some interesting things happening here this evening. Links aren't going through. You're getting a gray screen over here by design. Not sure how that is. I am not technically savvy enough to create any kind of graying or anything like that or stuff like that. That's for sure. That ain't going to happen here. But again, let's be mindful, I guess. What I'm trying to say, pay attention. There are just wild things going on out there, or being deceived left and right. What? Okay. When my wife and girls started dressing like Amish. All right. Well, that's interesting. We don't get any police helicopters down this area. I don't know where you live. Maybe it's frowned upon in the north. I don't know. We live in an area where there are Mennonites, actually. There's not Amish down in this section of town, this area. It's just Mennonite. We have some Mennonite farms down here. In fact, there's a phone booth by a police station in the next town over that I have my P.O. box at, because I have the P.O. box for the channel and stuff like this, and not for a regular house. But anyway, yeah, so there's a police station right next to the post office. I'll see the Amish out there every now and then barefoot at the phone booth making calls. But I wouldn't, it's kind of funny dressing and, amen, brother. I dress my girls like ladies, dresses and skirts, but not like the Amish. Yes, amen. Dresses and skirts of the right length. Absolutely. I get pushed back on that. Yeah, you can say what you will about people should just be dressed the way they want to dress, and what is the problem? Look at the women who dress the way they dress. Okay, I'm about to attack women, and I don't mean to attack women. Look at the majority of the women who dress in modern style that are in the churches today, and look at their lives. They seem all confused, messed up. They're very, very independent-minded, like they're going to be in charge of things. They need to be seen and heard, and it's wild how that works out. But you get, and I don't want to exclude women who do wear dresses. There are some New Agers that wear dresses and have some New Age fundamental beliefs without realizing it. They have to pray a certain way or pray a certain time of day, and all kinds of weird. The room has to be certain things have to be in a room. Can't wear your shoes in certain areas, and all kinds of crazy stuff like that. We had a similar dress, not same as Amish. Okay. I don't have daughters. I have, so I wish you well with the daughters. We have boys, and I guess because they bring their own type of problems, their own personalities. But I got one who just loves to build, dig, rip apart, tear, and construct, and he just loves to get in the dirt, and but he helped me. He's 9 years old. He's the one helping me with the T-posts in the ground for the fencing. Or hey, you know about that. I was putting up a chicken fence. By the way, I did finish most of that chicken fence. I finally got it all the way around that chicken run. Up until the end, I ran out of fencing, so now I'm just going to use some hardwire mesh to finish it at the end. The chickens are ready to come out, so tomorrow they'll be out of the brooders, and they'll be able to go out running around over there, so they'll be ready to go, which is nice. That'll be done. Working on the fruit trees. We got to get those up in the next couple of weeks. Again, we've gone a different direction here, but I was thinking about Amish and Mennonites and living off the land. Not Amish, not Mennonite, obviously, clearly not. Amish are very weird. Yeah, I said it. They run the puppy mills up there in Pennsylvania. But I've talked to some of the Mennonites down here. I shouldn't say I stopped one. There was one downtown, and I pulled over to the side, and I walked over to have a conversation with him. I noticed his wife took their daughter around the corner to something in the building. I don't know what. So I decided to have a conversation with him and ask him, hey, what Bible do you follow? What do you believe? And stuff like that. So it was interesting. And I always, honest to goodness, I thought most kind of were part of that their whole lives. And this particular guy just became part of it. He was always a modern guy and chose that way of life. So I don't know why we're down in Mennonites. Didn't see this coming. Yeah, we were followed in South California, then on our 10-acre plot in Oklahoma. Oklahoma? Yeah, I can pronounce words. Oklahoma. Marked in so marked, and I'm assuming you meant unmarked helicopters. Okay, that's interesting. I will say, speaking of that, we had a water truck drive by today with the it was military, because the cab of it was green, and it had a siren going off, and it's going down the street, and it had a flag, an American flag on the back end. They went down. Then a little while later, a fire truck went down. And then my wife had texted me, because me and my son went to Lowe's to pick up some marble rock down there, some white rock to put down on the hardwire or the mesh stuff for the so critters don't get into the coop, to the chicken coop, and she was telling me, oh, she saw that it was the National Guard was doing their thing, this annual thing. But I think it's more than that because I work near a small local airport, and I had never noticed until just recently Air Force planes going in there, some Apache-style helicopters. I'm not trying to get into conspiracy or anything like that, but when I started seeing those helicopters, in just another week or two before that, there was another airport up by Northeastern University near in Tennessee. I know there's a Northeastern up in Boston somewhere, but this is in Tennessee. And there were some military helicopters going that way. So I've seen a high traffic amount. Not trying to be a conspiracy guy. I'm just saying that there's been a high traffic amount of military in the last couple of months. I've seen more flying over. In fact, I took a picture of one on my phone and sent it to somebody at work because we have to communicate with other drivers using the phone. But it's been a high uptick, so a lot of things going on. Again, I don't worry about these things. Keeping your head on a swivel and paying attention, yes. But if you're saved, again, I keep going to this. If you're born again, you're saved. If you're a born again Christian, you do not have to get all excited and all out of control out of there. Huh. Wow, so much has happened since I last saw you. So glad you're out of Boston. I mean, I wasn't in the middle of Boston, but yeah, that's my neck of the woods. Good to see you there, my friend. I haven't seen you in heard from you in quite a while. I got another comment. I always got to put on my glasses, guys. I'm sorry, man. I'm blind as could be. I had to anyone myself from home meetings due to many worldly watching MMM fights. I don't know who's watching MMM fights. I don't watch MMM fights. And no Christian should be watching MMM fights. I mean, if you want to get to an MMM fight, I guess you can be in the, you can wait till the tribulation. I guess everybody will be in an MMM fight that are here, and I know people have different opinions on that, pre and post and stuff like that. And I always say the same thing. Some will say it matters. And I will say, yes, it does. But here's the thing. If you're not saved, and if you're not following God, well, it doesn't matter whether you're pre-trib or post-trib. You're secular and going to hell no matter how you look at it. And no, you're not going to Hades because, yes, I know it means the same thing as hell. Hell has a very, very direct word, and it means something. It just, when you hear it, it's got that that emphasis, that oomph behind it. But yeah, so I don't worry about the pre-trib, post-trib. If you ain't saved, you ain't going nowhere. So if you ain't going, you're going straight to hell. Sorry. Well, not right away. Judgment seat. Calm down. I mean, you can always take the mark and then try to refuse the mark. I'm just kidding. Some people do preach that, by the way, that you can take the mark. You'll be fine with the mark. I totally disagree with that. I just don't see that as a truth. But yeah, so going with your unmarked helicopter situation, I have seen the uptick around here, and I'm in Tennessee, where it would be. I'm going to hold up some fingers here. Conservative, and they are in the grand scheme of things a little more conservative than other places, depending on where you live. We live in obviously a county that is pretty much dominantly conservative. And don't get excited just because Republicans doesn't mean they're Christians either. I love the fact that 86% of the Congress, the Senate, and the House of Representatives identify themselves as Christian. But they passed the most unchristian-like laws, unbiblical laws you've ever seen. So I'm getting excited. And the end, of course the end's coming. I mean, we keep preparing for it, and we'll get ready to the best of our abilities. We pray, and whatever direction the Lord leads His Son, we'll go that direction. That's all there is to it. And I'm not going to listen to, and I'll do my best not to be, and pay attention to not being unequally yoked with any preachers or pastors or people or places that don't follow the King James Bible. And depends, again, what it is. You can have a conversation with someone to say, hey, listen, this is what I feel. I mean, again, don't walk away from somebody because it's a small disagreement. Figure out what that is. You don't just walk away on your brother. It doesn't work like that. A lot of people do, but you can't do that. That's unbiblical, and it will always be unbiblical because the word of God will not change. except in the newer versions. If you get the ESV, the NIV, the RSV, the NRSV, all of them. It doesn't matter what the Living Bible, Living Translation, doesn't matter. They all change. I got them all. I talk about it all the time. But just be very mindful. Just be discerning, because some things look good on the surface, but then you dig a little deeper, and you're like, red flag, red flag, red flag. So do your best each day to be able to hold those folks accountable, hold yourself accountable, realize when you make a mistake and accept that mistake, and don't go around judging people, or don't go around rebuking people without exhorting them, without bringing truth, because you fail. You fail the Bible, in my opinion, when you are only out to put down, hate, and tell people that they're wrong without ever telling them what the truth is, because you didn't get it your way. So a lot of people on the internet, they're just as bad as everybody else in the church buildings and the church places and the house churches and all of that. It goes across the gamut. So don't fool yourself into two things. Don't fool yourself just because you can go find a church that you're going to be holy, and don't fool yourself into believing if I'm so anti-church that I find I'm going to stay in a house church or a building somewhere and I automatically we're good to go. That's not true either. Deception is everywhere. And again, I know I'm sounding negative, but again, the Bible is negative that leads to a positive solution. That's all there is to it, in my opinion. I think I'm going to actually be able to keep this under an hour this time around. Yeah, look at that, 52 minutes, and I'm under an hour. That's not bad. I mean, I like hearing your thoughts and what everybody says here. I think we got another one just popped in. Let's see, let's pull this up here. I had tried to go with the Hutterites once, Mennonites and Amish, and various startup groups. All of them required following their man-made rules. Yes, and things are just crazy. Sold my place in Perry, Colorado. Yeah. And that's what happens too. We leave a church building and we go to these other places where we think it's going to be different, but then you're following rules again. And obviously certain rules are fine, but you get to these, Tennessee. Wait, you were in Tennessee? Maybe I knew that and I don't remember that. Huh. Okay. Right, now that I'm in Tennessee, but that tends to happen, and we start thinking, I'm going to follow these people because they're following the truth. But what happens? You're telling yourself you're going to follow people because they're following the truth, when you should be following the truth. And if those people are your fellow brethren, that's wonderful. You got to be careful how we work that out. That happens. It's because it's a fleshly desire. We want to be part of something. It's the flesh. It doesn't mean you're a bad person. It just means we want to be part of something. We want to find a brother out there. We want to find a sister out there. If it's women who are watching, we want to find that person, and we tend to lift that up higher than what we should be doing. I don't know what to tell you, my friend. I have no idea why that keeps on happening. If I text here with 3 or 4 lines, my text goes great. I do not. Maybe you're in a bad area for reception. I don't know. I wish I had the answer to you, my friend. I do not know why that keeps happening to you. Not at all. I'm seeing what you got out there, but we tend to do that, and we have to realize that following God first, following the rules that are in this King James Bible first. That's what you have to worry about. And if other people fall into that same category, they're doing the same things, then yeah, you're brothers and sisters with them. That's wonderful. That is fantastic. But don't go into something because you're more concerned about having the fellowship than following the word of God. Because sometimes, yes, we will walk alone. There's no doubt about it. We will have to walk alone at times. Not always. We may be able to have 1 or 2 people. I have talked about that for a long time. I've talked about that for years now. Going on 5 years or so, 6 years. 7. Trying to think how long. But I've also going to you, Maskless. This would probably go into your direction. I have talked about this for a long time, having that underground, so to speak, underground railroad where we're going to, and I've talked about this in the chat forums, where you guys can find one another, and maybe you end up seeing that person or finding someone, but to know that you might be able to come across somebody's path in New Hampshire you can count on, or South Carolina, or North Carolina, or Tennessee, or Texas, or Colorado, or Chicago up in Illinois, places like that. Yes, Perry County, Tennessee. I don't know where Perry County is, to be honest with you. I have to guess that that's on the western side of Tennessee. I'm not located on the western side, so that's why it's not ringing a bell for me. That could be way out there on. Maybe that's out. I don't know that side of the state. I'm on the eastern side, so I know these counties pretty well. Most of them: Rhea County, McMinn County, Monroe County, Polk County. Let's see, Greene County. Sullivan County, Washington County, as I'm naming all the counties. So I don't know of Loudoun, Blount, but I don't know where Perry County is. Sorry. Not that it really matters that much, I guess, in the grand scheme of things. But again, I just want to talk a little bit about that this evening. That was this week. It hit me. While I drive, I always things pop in my brain, and and I'll write them down on notes, things I want to talk about that I might want to be something that I could go across. Just like the podcast I do on Sunday nights, I write down a few ideas throughout the week, and sometimes I'll think I'm going to do something in the last second. It'll go somewhere else. I think I'm not a big fan of a pastor named Vernon McGee. He's from the 70s, I believe. And he was interviewed one time, and somebody asked him, how come you have no notes or anything like that? When you go up to preach, how do you know what you're going to preach? And he said he doesn't know. He doesn't know. He prays to the Lord, and he asks God to give him the words, and he steps up there and he goes off. And I think that's one of the best ways to approach it. Is don't do what you want to do. Do what God wants you to do. You could go in a lot of different directions. So, but I know this has gone to the hour mark, pretty close to the hour. And I try to remember prayer requests or anything like that, because we pray at the end of the evening after I get off. If people know this about me, I don't pray online. I don't pray on camera. I think that's precociousness. I think it's just reminds me of the Jews when they're rocking back and forth with the phylacteries on their heads. Look at me, look how holy I am. I don't think people should be praying on camera. That's just my opinion. I don't think people should be showing themselves witnessing on camera to someone. I think it's a private moment. It doesn't need to be shared viral with the world. That's just who I am. A lot of people do it for clicks and look what I did. Or people who want to confront people. Look what I did. When I went into a Catholic church, I didn't bring my camera with me and show me putting down gospel tracts and trying to confront the priests in there. I didn't do that. So. My friend wants to belong somewhere and find him a wife, so he is with Eastern Orthodox folks. I visited them once, but they are halfway like Catholics. Yeah, good people really, but compromised. It says W there. That's all. Compromised probably with something. Yeah, again, these are man-made religions. People. Someone asked me once, "Are you pretty religious?" And I said, no, but I am pretty biblical. So I think that should be the response all the time. Do you believe in religion? No, but I believe in the Bible. And so all these things are man-made. And it depends on what the rules are. Again, obviously, don't attack your brothers and sisters in a setting. But we all want something. We all want a wife. We all want a husband. Well, not all of us want a husband. I'm just speaking to women out there. We all want a spouse. Bizarre. Yeah, it is kind of weird how that keeps on happening to you. It goes great before I finish. God bless. But God bless you too, my friend. And I always look forward to your comments on other videos I have. I always read them. I try to get back to you most of the time. So I do appreciate that you take the time to make comments. I'm good. Thank you. But yeah, so I don't know where I was going to go with that, but I think we should wrap it up. It's an hour, but I'll put up the podcast tomorrow night, and it's going to be a surprise because it will be a surprise to me too. There's a few different things I'm looking at and talking about, but we'll see which way it goes. Again, I pray during the day. I come out here to what I like to call the pod shed. I pray about it. I give it to the Lord, and I just see what happens, and just whatever is laid upon my heart, that's the direction I go. Well, gentlemen, I appreciate. Not only am I thankful and grateful for you guys watching tonight and y'all commenting in here and in the dialogue. That's fantastic. I love the fact that people are talking, so I'm thankful for that. And I always will be. I know it's a broken record, but I will always continue to be thankful and grateful. I do not take this for granted that people will watch me and take the time, and I'm thankful. I really am. We need to be there for each other, the brethren, and make sure we're on the same page and deal with what we have to deal with. With that, I just looked up. I heard some rustling on the top of the roof there. I was like, what in the world was that? All right. With that, I'm going to awkwardly end the stream there. I didn't see any prayer requests in here. We have some of the folks that were here last week are not here tonight, but I know Jorge, I'll continue to pray for you as always. I just pray for you anyways. That's what I do. By design, I'm going to pray for you. And Maskless, I enjoy your long comments actually too. You have a lot of information. So I enjoy when you post stuff like that. So I thank you also, but I'll be praying for your situation as well down in that location that you're at. All right. So with that, I'm going to awkwardly turn off the end stream or end the stream. Well, God bless. I love you. Have a great week, everybody.